Hall of Famer and Cowboys legend Jimmy Johnson joining us on Shan and RJ on 105.3 The Fan. Good morning, Coach. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Good to talk with you guys.
What are the best, one of our top questions from the Tolo listeners, what are the best fishing spots in Texas?
Oh, boy, in Texas. I didn't do a whole lot of fishing in Texas. But when I was growing up, we would pull a 250-foot seine net, out through the ocean, and we'd get all kinds of stuff. Mother and Daddy from Arkansas, they didn't know what was good. We'd throw the shrimp back, we'd keep a bunch of crabs. So, but it was fun.
Is lake fishing just boring to you because you're always on the Gulf or something?
Oh, yeah, I don't do any bottom fishing. I don't do any fishing where I'm sitting still. I go offshore. I usually get up 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'll go out and put it on autopilot, put the riggers out, put 4 or 5 lines out. If I catch a fish, fine. If I don't catch a fish, I'll catch me 3 or 4 Heineken Lights and be back before noon.
Coach, did you follow that controversy of the fishing tournaments where the guys were stuffing weights in there to try to win all the prize money?
Yes, exactly. And in fact, I will have to admit, a couple of times I threw some ice in a fish trying to weigh it so I could get a record, but it wasn't a tournament.
You're that competitive to stuff some ice in there to win a tournament. Man.
But I have a fishing tournament down here at JJ Fish Week that over the last 10 years, we've given out over $10 million in prize money.
Wow.
It's one of the biggest fishing tournaments in the country.
Coach, we are the Cowboys station, and we'll get to the book in a second. Just wanted to get your current thoughts on these Cowboys as a Super Bowl contender this year.
I think this is the best Cowboys team that I've seen. For one thing, Mike McCarthy did a tremendous job of overcoming Dak being out and winning those games. I'll tell you what, no one expected that. Everybody's saying, well, if you could win one, maybe win two. But he did a tremendous job with that staff and with that team to overcome Dak being out. I think you look at the NFC, who do we have? I'm still not 100% sold on Philadelphia. And the Cowboys are going to be able to get Philadelphia at home. The 49ers, they're in a hole right now, but they've got a talented team. They might have a shot. Green Bay's really not any good. Even though I'm sure they'll put up an effort here this weekend. But, the NFC's down. I think the Cowboys have as good a shot, in fact, a better shot than most anybody there. And it'll come down to that Christmas Eve game against the Eagles.
Why aren't you totally sold on Philly yet?
If you look at Philadelphia, they run a different style of offense that gives people problems right off the bat. And most of their scoring comes early, especially in the second quarter. But once the team adjusts to that different style, the second half, they're playing them touch and go. And the other thing is a team playing them for the second time will be that better prepared for them. So, again, they've jumped on a bunch of teams early and gotten a lead, but those teams have usually come back in the second half. So I think seeing that offense for the second time will help Dallas, and especially being at home.
What are your impressions of Jalen Hurts?
I am really surprised that he has been as accurate as what he is, because that was a problem for him early. I think he's a tremendous worker. I watched Philadelphia work out against the Dolphins and visit with them a little bit there and watch their team. They're really deep and talented in the offensive and defensive line. That pays dividends when you get injuries. As far as Jalen Hurts, he's a good runner, not a great runner, but a good runner, and he takes advantage of the offense. He's running an offense that suits him, but I am surprised that he's throwing the ball so well.
Jimmy, the Cowboys have said all year, our formula is we are a run-first football team. What do you make of that, considering, do you like that formula with a $40 million quarterback? Like, you're going to pay the quarterback $40 million. Do you really want to be run first?
Well, points come in the passing game. But you're going to be effective in the passing game if you can run the football. There's going to be times where you have to run the football. You have to be able to run the football at the end of games. You've got to be able to run the football to eat up the clock, to win games. And so that's something that you have to do. But points are going to come in the passing game. But you'll get the explosive plays out of the passing game if people are playing the run, if they're trying to stop Ezekiel Elliott or Tony Pollard. And so you look at that, I think the balance helps. And there'll be games that you're not going to run it much. You play the Buccaneers with their defense, you're going to be throwing it most of the time. But you play another team and you're going to be running it most of the time. When you get a big lead, you're going to be running it. So I think you got to have both.
How do you feel, Coach, about Dak as a franchise quarterback now?
I think you can win a championship with Dak. There's no doubt about it. But Dak, just like any other quarterback, he's got to have the right supporting cast. Just like down here, everybody's ready to get rid of Tua his first couple of years. But now you put Tyreek Hill there and Jalen Waddle and a couple of running backs and an offensive tackle. All of a sudden they're saying Tua might be MVP. So you look at it, every quarterback, Troy, when Troy was a rookie, he goes out there, didn't win a game. The second year, we would have made the playoffs. We were one game away from the playoffs, and Troy injured his shoulder. I went to Troy and I said, Troy, I'm sorry, I tried to push you for the Pro Bowl. You didn't make the Pro Bowl. And I remember it like yesterday. He looked over at me and said, Coach, he said, you keep bringing in young, good talent. He said, I'll go to lots of Pro Bowls.
Jimmy Johnson joined us here at 105 through the Fan. The book is called Swagger. It is released nationally on November 15th. Pre-order it now on Amazon or wherever books are sold. How do you utilize and how would you utilize Tony Pollard versus Zeke? I mean, Pollard's having this great year, explosive plays, and Zeke is more of the, dirty yards kind of back, great, better blocking back. How would you utilize the two?
I think what they're doing right now is the best way. And, people have asked me, don't you want Pollard in there all the time because he gets the explosive plays? Well, he's getting the explosive plays because defenses are geared up to stop Ezekiel Elliott and the physical play of him running the football there. He's a big physical. In fact, Terry Bradshaw did an interview with Dak here the other day, and he said Ezekiel Elliott came in and talked to him. He said, man, he is thick. He is a big back. He was so impressed with him just talking to him. I think the combination of the two. I don't think Pollard would be near as effective if he was the only back.
Jimmy, a lot of people would like your thoughts on how special Micah Parsons is. Does he remind you of anyone? And do you think that this Cowboys defense is or can be special?
I think they are special. Dan Quinn's done a great job with them. But Micah Parsons, I watch him every single week. And now I know Belichick, my buddy, is going to get mad at me. I mean, he may be the best player I've seen. And, of course, Bill's going to say Lawrence Taylor's the guy. But Micah Parsons, he amazes me. His size and his speed, he makes plays all over the field. And everything I hear about him is his work ethic, his passion, his leadership qualities. He's a special individual. I voted him as the best MVP, not being a quarterback.
There's talk of bringing Odell Beckham in. We have not heard the Cowboys kind of get up and stump for a player that we have ever seen more than this. How would you weigh bringing in a extreme talent, a big personality this late in the year versus maybe disrupting the locker room, the chemistry, whatever it may be?
Michael Strahan knows him extremely well, and Michael and I have talked about him a bunch. I think he would be an addition. I don't think he would be a disruption. Michael says he's really a good guy, works hard. Everybody in the locker room, loves him. The concern I have is, how quick is he going to be able to contribute in a positive way? Because he hadn't played football in a while. He's coming off a major knee surgery. And so it may be, we may expect more out of him than what he can give early. The other thing is when a player hasn't been out there, I've seen it time and time again, when they've had a long layoff and then they hit the field, 2 weeks later they pull up a hamstring, or they pull a groin or something, because they're not football ready. So how football ready is he going to be?
The legend, Jimmy Johnson, the Hall of Famer, here on the home of the Cowboys with Shan and RJ. The book Swaggers coming out Tuesday, November 15th. You can pre-order now at Amazon or wherever books are sold. Obviously, Coach, the story never dies down here. I've seen you in other newspaper interviews. It's kind of all we've had to hang on to over the last 25 years. Well, what's your we have him on every Tuesday and Friday on the station. What's your relationship like with Jerry Jones today?
Yeah, I started the chapter off with Jerry saying, people don't understand our relationship, simply for the reason I don't understand our relationship. If I saw Jerry today, I would imagine we would both smile and hug each other and say, "Oh, yeah, it was a great run," and then how he would feel 2 days later, I don't know. I have, in fact, you read the book. I was very, very complimentary of Jerry. Yeah. I think he has done a great job for the NFL, one of the great owners in the NFL, and made every owner in the NFL a lot of money. He's passionate. He works hard. He loves the Cowboys. As far as our relationship, I never know. I got great admiration for Jerry.
I was sitting here, chapter 12, it starts off, and you put in a section of your contract, which I thought was pretty telling. And I've said, Coach, my theory is that Jerry is like the most successful, insecure person that I've ever known or ever interviewed, because it just seems like he wants to be in the cool kids club of wanting the football credit. You've said he could make $5 million, nobody cared. You trade for Tony Casillas, he wants the football credit for it. Is that what this whole thing has basically circulated around?
The reason I reprinted the contract in the book is because I think really the contract was the basis of part of our conflict. Because when we started off, Jerry said, "Hey, I'm going to handle all the business, all the finances. You handle all the football." So Nick Christian, my attorney, wrote up the contract that way. And it worked fine, because really the first couple of years, Jerry was spending 24 hours a day trying to pay off that loan. I was spending 24 hours a day trying to overcome 1 in 15. And in fact, people don't realize how bad the Cowboys were. Tom Landry is one of the greatest coaches of all time. He had 3 straight losing seasons, and they were 3-13. They were a bad football team. So I was spending all my time on football. He was spending all of his time on that loan. And the one thing about it, we talked back and forth, a couple times a day throughout those first few years. And I think because of the contract and because of the conflict and because we stopped talking and communicating, I think that started, us butting heads a little bit the last couple of years.
Here's what I've Sorry, go ahead.
That's what caused the conflict.
I've always wanted to ask you, I don't even know if it matters today. I know Belichick and everyone else flies down there to go fishing with you to pick your football brain. You said you just want to fish and drink beers, and Belichick wants to talk about the salary cap and the draft. But Jerry is a football guy. He is the general manager around here, which many people have a problem with. What was your impression of Jerry and his football knowledge?
Well, see, I really can't say, because I'm not there anymore. I was around Jerry all that time for 5 years, but we had different roles during that 5 years. And, that's been a long, long time ago. And so I know he is, much more involved now than what he was those first few years. Because I remember he came in my office after that 4th year. He said, "Hey, I paid off that loan." And so, okay, now what am I going to do?
Yeah.
and so I really can't say, because, I would imagine he is 100% more involved now than what he ever was back in those early years.
Coach, a big topic around here has been Sean Payton. You're now working with him at Fox. Have you talked to him? How do you think he would potentially fit as a coach under Jerry Jones, as has often been rumored?
Well, first of all, I think y'all got a great head coach with Mike McCarthy. Mike's done a heck of a job, and what he's doing this year, I admire what he's doing this year. as far as Sean Payton going back into coaching, he talks about going back into coaching, yes. But he does say, he said, you guys have a ball on Fox NFL Sunday. He said, I like this. He said, I don't know if I can leave this. But anyway, by the way, he read the book. He said, one thing I'm going to do for sure, he said, after reading your book, I'm going to try to get your contract. But no, as far as Sean, I would think, having visited with him, he's going to go back into coaching somewhere. But you've got an outstanding coach right there with Mike McCarthy.
Jimmy, how long after you finished coaching did you think it was too long after to actually come back? It made it too hard to come back.
Oh, well, yeah, I had issues, because of my approach when I coached. I didn't have any family life, and I regret that. I regret it even to this day. I wouldn't change anything. I've talked to my sons about it. I wouldn't change a thing. But my son Chad going through alcoholism, and now he's fantastic. He's super successful right now with his rehab centers. And my mother passing away, it just made me realize I didn't have any family life. And so that's what took me out of coaching. Now, I know a lot of coaches, delegate. I know coaches that actually go home for dinner during the season. I never heard of that before. It just, each individual is different. Wayne Huizenga, when I tried to retire the first time, Wayne said, hey, leave after the season. Don't come back here until training camp. I said, Wayne, I can't do that. If my name's on it, I've got to be here working.
Yeah.
And so different guys approach it in a different way. With today's, with the rules and regulations, maybe coaches can delegate a little bit more and have more of a family life. But I couldn't.
Yeah, how would you handle today's game? The asthma field or cutting guys on an airplane. That's not something that really happens today. Like, were tactics that you used to use that you can't use right now.
Why not?
Can you? Maybe you can. I don't know.
Belichick does it, and he still wins. And so I think as long as the coach has respect and credibility, and the players understand that he's working as hard, if not harder, than they are, and the players understand he's doing everything that he can do to make them better, to make them position better, to have a bigger contract and have success in the league. They'll accept whatever. Those players don't want that backup linebacker sleeping in the meeting, not the ones that want to be good. Those players don't like people being late for meetings. So I don't know that anything's changed.
Jimmy Johnson here on The Fan. Coach, how much do you care about being put into the Cowboys Ring of Honor?
Well, I'd be honored. I'd be honored to be in the Ring of Honor. There's some great individuals in the Ring of Honor. The Dallas Cowboys are a big part of my life. So I take great pride in that. And you look at, Jerry's told me, half a dozen times he's going to do it. But I have no control over that. That's up to Jerry. When and if he decides to put me in, again, I would be honored. But if he decides he doesn't want to do it, I understand.
Do you have any clue or theory as to why it hasn't happened yet?
No, not really. It's about like my relationship with Jerry. It's a day-to-day thing.
I saw this with our buddy Matt Gangle. I thought it was fascinating. I just wanted to repeat it for our radio audience. Do you root for the Cowboys today, or the fact that they haven't really done anything in 25 years, does that make you go, man, that makes me look even better because Jerry can't do it without me?
No, I'm a Cowboy fan. Like I said, the Cowboys are a big part of my life. And so it's only good for me when the Cowboys do good. Fox is televising the Super Bowl in Arizona. I would love for the Cowboys to be in Arizona in the Super Bowl. It'd be great for me. I don't look back and say what if and all that stuff. That's history. That was a long, long time ago. I'm part of the Cowboys to this day, and I want the Cowboys to win. In fact, I'm going to pick them by 10 against Green Bay this week.
Oh, yeah. Oh. All right, Jimmy, you may not want to do it, but it's iconic. I've never heard it since. Is there any way you could end your discussion with us by recreating a "How About Them Cowboys" on 105.3 The Fan?
Well, I can remember it like it was yesterday. All the players around, we had just beat the 49ers, who I thought were the best team in the league. Not that day, but the overall best team in the league. And I knew once we beat the 49ers, there was 100% we were going to beat Buffalo because Buffalo turned it over too much. I knew we were going to win that Super Bowl. So that was the feeling in the room. And I stood up on that table. I'm glad it didn't break. I stood up on that table and I said, "How about them Cowboys?"
Yeah, there it is. Jimmy Johnson on the Diamond Factory hotline. Coach, anything else you think our listeners will get out of the book when they get Swagger, which is coming out on November 15th? I know you talk about your entire journey, the Jerry drama. What else do you think our listeners will get out of getting the book?
The publisher and a lot of the people reading the book said, obviously he turned the Jerry chapter, and some of them said, well, there's a Survivor chapter, or even, like the Dolphins and the University of Miami, time, et cetera, et cetera. But they said the most impactful, chapter is the one with my son, because when you get up there and mothers and daddies are saying, "Chad, thanks for saving my son's life," and I get up there and say, nothing I've ever accomplished can come close to what you are doing at Tranquil Shores. You're saving lives. They said that's the most impactful chapter.
Coach, thank you so much for the time. Our radio listeners are going crazy. They're asking if you're still available to come out and coach and assist. Continued success. Enjoy the water and enjoy TV. Hope to see you at the Super Bowl.
Okay. Hope to see you in Arizona. Good talking with y'all.